Hey guys, Andrew here. I just wanted to make a quick video to kind of talk a little bit about how I got into pharmaceutical sales and kind of wanted to share some, secrets and things that you might not know about the industry and help you decide personally if it's something that you want to get into. So, I hope to talk about three things in this video, just kind of what a day-to-day life is in pharmaceutical sales, how I personally got in, and ways that you can better your own chances. So some of the things in this video might be very obvious. Some of them you might not know yet, but hopefully they'll help you in your own search in your own career. And I feel like even though this video is directed mostly at pharmaceutical sales, this can apply to most jobs across the board. So first off, I would want to give a little bit of background about myself. I attended BYU Hawaii. I got a business management degree in operations and supply chain. After I graduated BYU Hawaii, I went on to work as a sales representative at Verizon Wireless. Obviously wasn't in operations supply chain, but it was a job that was available to me, and it was a good opportunity, a good stepping stone for me to get some sales experience and get a good company on my resume. Did really well at Verizon Wireless. Won some sales awards. They flew me to Denver to go to a Denver Broncos game for having the most sales of new lines of service in a given month. Anyways, I was only there for about 8 months. Went back to Hawaii while my wife finished her degree. Anyways, after doing that, I started my MBA in Utah. I went to Utah Valley University. The reason why I chose to do an MBA, it was given the opportunity to me, and I felt like, it's better to get this done now rather than get 10 years experience and then go back and get an MBA. I know that's how most people do, is they'll get the experience and then go back to school, get in the MBA so that way they can move up in management. I decided to do it backwards because I'm not a huge fan of school, so I just wanted to get it over with and be able to start my career and move upwards from there. While I was working on my MBA, I was also working part-time across the street at the Smart Lab. It's basically a marketing research lab. Anyways, that played a huge part in where I am today, how I got into pharmaceutical sales. Anyways, that's a little bit about me. Now let's talk about why people like the idea of getting into pharmaceutical sales. What's the draw? What's the hype? So starting off, your first year, generally you have a base salary and then commission on top of that. So there's potential to make upwards of $100,000 or more in your first year. So obviously very lucrative, very high earning potential. So that's a huge benefit right from the get-go. There's other benefits included. Oftentimes you get a company car. Like I said, the base salary, you have benefits. You don't work on weekends. It's just an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday job. So now that I've kind of talked about why generally people want to get into pharmaceutical sales, let me give you some reasons why not to. So the industry is notoriously unstable. There were tons of layoffs less than 10 years ago, after 2008, of course, with the economic downturn. But it's notoriously unstable. There are contracted positions where a contract only lasts a year or two with a company, and if you're not one of the top performers, you could get let go. There's different things like that can make the job unstable, and so that a lot of times turns people off because it's not always something that is stable throughout the course of your time at that company. So that is a factor of why people don't like getting into it. It's very competitive. There are lots and lots of applications. So I experienced this myself trying to get in. It took me about 6 months of applying, not hearing anything back, and it was discouraging. So you may experience the same thing where you're applying and applying and applying and reaching out to people in your network and trying to break into the industry, and it's just so competitive that it can, really wear down on you. And so that is another thing that people end up not getting into it because they get discouraged. So it's very cutthroat, like I said, very competitive because a lot of people are trying to get those jobs. So with that being said, it's one of those industries where a lot of companies, they want to see you have experience. So you might ask yourself, well, how am I supposed to get experience if none of these companies will give me a chance? How am I supposed to get the experience, you know? So that is a big deterrent for people. Since it is a sales position, you've got to be able to sell. If you're not good, there are 10 other people lined up to do your exact same job. So there is that added pressure. It's like, hey, if you don't perform, we can replace you for other people that will do just as good, if not better, than you're currently doing. So you have to perform well. A lot of pharmaceutical jobs require travel, overnight travel. A lot of people that I know cover several states, so oftentimes throughout the week they're traveling, and so they're away from their families. That's another thing to consider before getting into the industry. Time with doctors is going to be one of your biggest things that you will see if you get into the industry. Some doctors won't ever give you the time of day. They won't ever see you. They'll always be too busy. Some of them will say, you know what, they'll ask, hey, can I give you a signature? And they will give you 5 seconds, some 10 seconds, some more than that. And I have some relationships with doctors where I can go in and chat with them for 10 or 15 minutes. So it all really depends. There's lots of things that can be discouraging about the job. There's lots of rejection while working as a pharmaceutical sales representative. So those are just some things to consider of why you wouldn't want to get into pharmaceutical sales. So let's move on to what a day-to-day looks like. So generally the workday is between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. and you usually do a lunch right around 12, 1 o'clock. So what your day looks like, you plan out before you go out which territory you're going to be in. You generally have a target list of doctors that you're going to call on or go see in that given day. So generally what I'll do is I'll try to see 4 or 5 doctors, physician's assistants, or nurse practitioners in that area before lunch. And so what you do, you have it all mapped out, you know where you're going. Once you get into the office, you've got to first get through the gatekeeper, which is the receptionist, and that is a toss-up. So sometimes the receptionist is going to be a pain in the butt, for lack of better terms, and not going to let you go see the doctor, the healthcare provider. Other times, if you're on the receptionist's good side, you're going to be able to get right in, you're going to be able to go talk to the provider. And generally what you do is you wait by the nurse's station, you wait for the healthcare provider to come out, and their favorite quote, their favorite line is, "Do you need a signature?" And that is basically them saying, what do you need? I'm busy. Let me get back to work. So anyways, you've got to come up and be prepared with a pitch that's, within 10 to 30 seconds long. Ask them if they have questions. If your company does samples, see if they need more samples, get a signature, resolve any issues maybe they've had with your product, and just reaffirm what it is that you're selling and help them understand why your product is better than the competitors. So it's a pretty difficult task. You've got to be on your toes, and you got to be ready for when that doctor takes time out of their day to give you their undivided attention for about 30 seconds. So that is kind of your typical call. What you'll do is you'll get back in your car, you'll take notes, what happened, so that way the next time you go in there you can look back on those notes and see what it is that they're concerned with and what you can do to address those concerns. So then during lunch, I generally like to do a lunch almost every day. You have a given amount of budget per month that you're supposed to spend on these healthcare providers. Again, doctors, PAs, or nurse practitioners. With that being said, you bring them lunch, and then that is generally the best time to be able to sit down with the healthcare provider and really crank things out, go through everything, make sure they don't have any questions, discuss insurance, talk about concerns, reasons why they wouldn't prescribe your drug, and really just get a chance to talk with this healthcare provider, get to know them on a personal level, because I really feel like you are not just selling the product, you're selling yourself. And if you can be a real person with these people and build a lasting friendship and relationship with them, I think it'll really pay dividends in the long run. After lunch, they're going back to their day. You're out the door and you're on to your next calls. Again, you take 4, 5, 6 calls. You go in 4, 5, 6 different offices after lunch, and that's your day. And again, you're going in. Oftentimes, you're only getting 30 seconds with a healthcare provider, and you're recording those calls on your iPad, so it tracks what you do throughout the day. And that's your day to day. So now moving on how I got into pharmaceutical sales. Like I mentioned, while I was working on my MBA, I was working part-time at the marketing research lab, and my mentor and boss, Dale Jolly, he spent his career in pharmaceutical sales. To be honest, while I was working on my MBA, I had no idea what I wanted to do for my career. I hadn't been completely in love with most of my jobs before I got into the industry. And so I was, to be honest, very scared. I was worried about getting into a career that I was, tied down to a desk every day, that I was confined to a cubicle, that I had to go to one office building every day and leave that office building. And not like there's anything wrong with that, but I personally just didn't see myself being happy doing something like that. And so when I came in contact with Dale and learned about his career, I really opened up to the idea of being able to be a pharmaceutical sales representative. I mean, that sounded like something like I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to make my own schedule, not be micromanaged. I wanted to be able to go out and talk with these healthcare providers face to face and build relationships, use my people skills to really further my own business. And so when I learned about pharmaceutical sales, I was just like, this is exactly what I wanted to do. So I wanted to share a little bit about the things that I did that worked for me. Again, I don't claim to be a professional. I'm just sharing with you what I did to get into the industry, and it might help you do the same. So I used my current network. So with that being said, Dale was the first person that I was able to really understand what it was that I wanted to do, and using his network, I was able to add a ton of people on LinkedIn. So I would say that would be the first thing that I would do, is get a tip-top shape LinkedIn profile. Make sure your profile picture is current and have relevant work experience listed on your LinkedIn. So with that being said, if you are trying to get a job in sales, every job listed on LinkedIn and your resume should be sales in one way or another. So with that being said, you might be asking yourself, okay, well, I don't have sales experience, but possibly you do. What you want to do is, when you are talking about the position that you held, make sure to be specific with numbers on, did you help your company grow this percent this month? Or what did you do to help increase sales? And it might not necessarily be a sales position that you did, but you might be able to tweak your past experience to help cater it to a sales position in the future. Again, use LinkedIn to your benefit. Reach out to people that you don't even know that have the title of pharmaceutical sales representative, and add them to your contacts as your connections. Send them messages, emails, ask them if they know of anyone hiring. Oftentimes, companies have reward incentives. If they bring on someone or if they refer someone, they get paid for it. So these people want to help you, especially if you have a good background or a good reference from LinkedIn that can say, hey, this person would be a great fit. And just have a list of questions that you can ask these people and use them as a resource. Don't get discouraged. A lot of these people probably won't have something off the top of their head, but there may be something down the road that they come across that they might be able to send your way and give you a good reference. The other thing I did, other than using LinkedIn and really pulling from my own network, I use job websites like Monster, Indeed, Career Builder, ZipRecruiter. All of these were great resources that had lots of listings for pharmaceutical sales representatives. With that being said, there are a couple specialty websites that I would also highly recommend: Medzilla and PharmyWeb. Anyways, I'll put the links down here so you guys can click on them and research them on your own there. These are all great websites, but a lot of times what you'll want to do is go to the company's website and apply directly on their site, because sometimes jobs are not listed on these third-party career sites such as LinkedIn or Career Builder. A lot of times they're just posted on their website, so this makes it difficult. You've got to be able to go in, make an account. Again, it's very tedious, but apply on their website rather than just trying to spam out your resume on, Career Builder or Indeed. You might get a lot of feedback. I did, but a lot of them were spam jobs, things that I didn't necessarily want to get into. The last thing I want to talk about on how I got into the industry is having a top-notch resume. So with that being said, I spent hours upon hours working on my resume, having other people look it over, critiquing it, giving their own opinions. I took it to the school's career advisement center. I had them make changes. There are so many resources out there for you to have a solid resume. Another thing you can do, I would highly recommend, is Google search sales representative resumes or pharmaceutical sales representative resume and look at examples of a solid resume that a recruiter looks for. This is so important because, people are going to be looking at this, and if it's, not free of grammatical errors or spelling, or if it doesn't have solid experience, they're going to throw it away. They're not even going to look at it. You need to make sure that on your resume, each position or job that you've held in the past, if you can, make it so it sounds like a sales position. No, it's not dishonest. Don't lie on your resume. But what you want to do is have numbers documented on ways that you helped the company. How did you grow in sales? Or how much money did you save your company? Or what did you do that made a financial difference for your past company's work experience? Did you grow exponentially 2.5 times over a 6-month period? If you have documented results, those will pay dividends in the long run. If you can put recorded, documented numbers and things into your resume, that's what they look for in sales representative jobs. They want measurable results that they can see on paper and that they can say, hey, this person is valuable and has been valuable to other companies. We want to bring them on. You want to be valuable for the company that you're going to be working with. So the last thing I want to talk about as far as building a resume, you want to make sure your resume matches the job description. We live in a digital era where a lot of times our resumes are filtered out before they even are seen by a real person. If your resume doesn't match the job responsibilities and duties that are in the job description, no one's even going to see it. So what I mean by that, there are certain keywords, phrases, things that are in the job description that if those same words don't match any of the words in your resume, it's never going to be seen. Anyways, very tedious, probably my least favorite part about applying for jobs, but I wanted to give you a quick example here. So if we go to LinkedIn and up in the search bar we type in pharmaceutical sales under jobs. To give you an example here, the first one, Publicis Touchpoint Solutions. So it has a job description and a long list of education and also duties and responsibilities. And so these are all things that you can put into your own resume to match the job description. So it will not get filtered out through the screening process, and then once it does reach a recruiter's hands, it will show, hey, you know what, this is exactly what we're looking for, in the job description they've had this in the past. So, for example, manage a promotional budget. Have you done that before? If so, put that in your resume. Listen and respond appropriately to customer needs and questions. Now, I wouldn't go as far as copying and pasting these into your resume, but in a roundabout way, if you can type those things in there, those will pop up in the search and you'll be able to make it through the screening process. Again, another one, maintain thorough knowledge of client products and program, prepare reports for management as needed. There are lots of different things in here that you can put in your resume to show, hey, I am qualified for this job. Alright, so the third segment that I wanted to talk about in this video is how to better your own chances, things that I did, but hopefully that you can do to better your chances to get in the industry. So I talked a little bit about a brag book. This is something that is required in the pharmaceutical industry. A brag book is exactly how it sounds. It is a book about your accomplishments, your achievements, everything that you've done that you can brag about yourself. This is something that you want to keep throughout your career, and anytime you have any attaboys, if you have any sales accomplishments or things that you can put in here, this is all documented proof that you can take to your interview and show your manager or the person that's interviewing you, hey, this is what I've done, this is what I'm worth, this is why you should hire me. Not just words of, oh, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, but physical proof and evidence like, hey, I can do this job, this is why you should hire me. Share a quick story with you. When I got my job as a pharmaceutical sales representative, I had talked about that time that I got flown to Denver at Verizon Wireless and that I had won that sales competition, and my manager, he wanted me to prove it. He's like, do you have that documented? Show me those numbers, show me what you did to be able to achieve that. And luckily I was able to return to that page. I was able to show him where I was at that given month and how I was able to win that contest. So again, very important. So I was going to give you a little tour of the brag book. Again, I'll put a link down here on tools and things that you can use to create your own brag book. So first of all, I've got a table of contents. I've got my name. I've got my professional resume, letter of recommendations, sales accomplishments. I've got my MBA transcripts. If you went to school, it's good to show your grades if you want. Also, I put a driving record. With pharmaceutical sales, you've got to have a clean driving record, so something to keep in mind. So, anyways, I've got, like I said, I've got my copies of my resume in here. It's important to take them to your job interview. Make sure to take lots of them because sometimes there's more than one person interviewing you, so they can take notes and write down things on your resume. Again, so this is letters of recommendation. If you can get those from your bosses, your past coworkers, teachers, anything that, or anyone that might be able to give you a good recommendation, it's good to be able to print those out and be able to show those to the people that you're interviewing. There's another one there. Also, past performance reviews. This is also something that sometimes they like to look at. This is usually done on an annual basis, so if your boss doesn't do it, maybe that's something that they can do, so you can print out and have physical evidence on things that you've done well, things that you've accomplished, and things that you can work on. So it's, again, something that you can use to your benefit while you're in your interview process. The next thing, sales numbers. Again, this is very, very important. If you can produce some kind of paperwork or proof of evidence of where you were when you've done your past sales experience and how you can use this to your benefit and show the hiring manager that, hey, this is what I've done in the past, I can sell, this is what I can do for your company. So again, sales numbers, accomplishments, got lots of them in here, and so on and so forth. I've got copies of my my diploma here, and again, just more letters of recommendation, acceptance letters, transcripts, etc., etc. So, with that being said, now that I've gotten into the industry, anytime that I've had any sales performance recognitions, attaboys, and emails, if I've had a good week and it was blasted out to the entire region, I've continued to print those out and keep them on hand so it's something that I can use to my benefit to show hiring managers, this is what I'm worth, this is what I can do in this given amount of time, and really prove to them on paper what you've done in the past and what you can do for the company. You want to be able to create value for yourself. So that again is a brag book. I'll keep link down at the bottom here for you so you can look at what a brag book entails and how you can create a top-notch brag book. Next couple of things. There are lots of books out there that I would highly recommend before getting into the industry. This one I own a personal copy. This is called Be Brief, Be Bright, Be Gone. I read this before I even started my job as a pharmaceutical representative. This is a little outdated. I believe this is 2010, so most of it is still relevant though. Anyways, the reason why I like this one, it talks about the pros, the cons, the day-to-day life. It shows what a pharmaceutical sales representative does, and it kind of gives you the rundown of the industry. This is a great resource and tool that I would recommend. Again, I'll leave a link down at the bottom on Amazon for this here. The other book I want to talk about, I don't own personally, but I got it from the library. It's called Knock 'em Dead. Again, I'll put the link down here at the bottom. Knock 'em Dead is basically a how-to job process in the entirety. So everything from job searching to networking to building a resume, interviewing, post-interview, getting the job. It breaks everything down and it's just pure gold. I specifically focused on the interviewing process chapters of the book, on asking questions, what the recruiters look for, proper etiquette within an interview. They have tons of interview questions that an interviewer might ask you, so it's good to go through those with family members or friends to help really understand what it is that they could throw at you. You want to be ready. You want to know kind of what they're going to be asking you before going into the interview. With that being said, you need to know about the company. Don't go in there not having a clue about the company or the job that you're applying for. I would do as much research about the company and about the person interviewing you. If you can get on LinkedIn and add them, connect with them before you even go with an interview, all the better. If you have a connection in common, or you both went to the same school, or your parents somehow know their friends, if you can make any little connection, those kind of things can really stand out in an interview. A couple more things I would consider trying. I went to a number of career fairs. This is a great opportunity to see lots of other companies, get face-to-face with people, and essentially have a face-to-face interview on the first contact with some of these people. There are some pharmaceutical sales career fairs out there. I know some of them you'll have to pay for to just get in, but again, it might be worth your time and money to be able to get in front of some of these people and really show them what it is that you have to offer, and make a first impression with them rather than just a resume. Also, something that I've just come across, I haven't tried myself, but there are blaster resume services that they send out your resume to hundreds upon hundreds of pharmaceutical sales representative jobs. I know one in particular, again, I'll leave down at the bottom. It's $50. Again, I haven't tried it myself, but again, just another resource for you to consider before getting into the industry. So the other thing to consider to help you get into the industry, there are 3 main contracted pharmaceutical companies out there that like to take chances on people that don't have past pharmaceutical experience. So the first one, inVentiv Health. I got a job with inVentiv Health. They are a contracting pharmaceutical company. What that means is they contract with smaller companies that make the drug. inVentiv Health provides a sales force for that smaller company. That contract can last anywhere from a year to 2 years to 5 years. Whatever the contract is, those companies will do that for a certain amount of time, and if the smaller company is sustainable at the end of the contract, they will bring on all the sales force, and they'll then become members or workers, direct workers of that smaller company. That's what happened to me. I started out with inVentiv, and then we were absorbed by the smaller company, Vernalis. The other companies to look out for: Publicis, Touchpoint Solutions, and also PDI. So again, these companies are contracting pharmaceutical companies. They like to take risks on people that don't necessarily have past pharmaceutical experience, but again, you might have a better chance with these companies rather than getting into a big pharma company like Pfizer or Merck. A huge resource to keep in mind while you're doing your job searching process is to network with recruiters. Now, what a recruiter does is they have a full-time job of placing people and finding people jobs. It's awesome. So if you can meet and talk with several of these recruiters, they can do a lot of the footwork for you. They can bring jobs that you are qualified and that you are looking for right to your doorstep. Anyways, I used this, had several recruiters that were looking for jobs for me. And the nice thing is if I accept any of those jobs, then they get paid. So, with that being said, they are on your team. They want to find you a job that you are looking for. So what you want to do with these recruiters is I would reach out to them on LinkedIn, connect with them. Oftentimes they'll want to set up a phone interview and just kind of get a feel for what exactly it is that you're looking for in a job, where you'd like to live, salary, all of the above. And then they can go from there and look through their network and find any jobs that might fit your needs or might be a great match for what you're looking for. Anyways, again, I use recruiters in my job searching process, and sometimes it can make all the difference. Now, an industry standard to keep in mind: pharmaceutical companies require a 4-year degree. Generally, they like to see a business management degree or a degree in science or healthcare. So you may be asking yourself, with all this information, how am I going to get into the industry? There are a few different ways that people will generally do. The first is 1099 sales. A 1099 sales rep is where it is commission only. These jobs are generally easier to get because, let's face it, the company isn't paying you unless you can sell. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this route, but I know of many reps that have done this to gain valuable experience and then been able to move into a W-2 position, which is the position where you have a base salary plus commission. The third option where you can gain some valuable work experience is to get into business-to-business sales or B2B sales. What this is you're put in a territory, you have clients that you go and see on a regular basis, and you bring a product to them, and you gain that experience where you're building relationships with these people, and you're in charge of a territory. This transitions great into pharmaceutical sales because you have that territory, you're responsible for your clients, and you're building that relationship with them face to face. I know a lot of people will do this and then transition into pharmaceutical sales. Unfortunately, a lot of times people will have to pay their dues and they will work in outside business-to-business sales before they get into pharmaceutical sales. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but again, that is the nature of the beast. A lot of people do that to gain face-to-face outside sales experience to be able to then transition and break into the pharmaceutical industry. Anyways, I just want to wrap up by kind of rehashing some of the key highlights on getting into the industry. Number one, have a solid sales resume. Make sure you spend lots of time on it and Really make that your selling point for yourself. Use your network on LinkedIn, on your family members and friends, anyone that knows, anyone in the industry you're trying to get into, and reach out to those people within that network to help give you advice and tips on how you can get into the industry. Third, have a solid brag book. Create one and keep one for the rest of your career. It will be something that you can document and look back on and pull out of your back pocket anytime you're looking for another job. Last but not least, stay positive. Again, it took me over 6 months of applying, lots of rejection. I probably applied to over 100 jobs. I only got a handful of callbacks, and I got one interview. One interview. Luckily, they gave me a chance, and I got into the industry. I've now been in it for about 1.5 years. I love my job. I'm so grateful that I've been able to work the last 1.5 years in pharmaceutical sales, and believe it or not, I have found my career, I found my niche, and I want to spend my entire career doing it. So again, I wish you the best of luck. I hope this video has helped you out, given you some insight on how you can break into the industry yourself. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer any questions, send any job opportunities or things your way, or help you get into the industry yourself. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one.